You applied for leave. You justified the objects for the application. You gave grounds for the application. You gave reasons. Now we captured those and answered you on that account. I am one of them that I had to do so on behalf of the party, because we would not wait for you to have arrived at whatever you were doing in order for us to have an answer to give, because you were a member of the DP, and clearly we were the first target of anybody that had questions. So, and the major matter for which we answered you was the proposal for election of leader of opposition. That is majorly what was highlighted, and that is where we answered you. So that is why we answered you in limine. Now, colleagues, Honorable Lumu, you also recognize that we are under a multi-party political dispensation. And the choice for this country to go multi-party followed the two major events: constitutional approach by the Democratic Party and a referendum by other parties that chose to participate. The Democratic Party did not. So clearly we are under a multi-party political dispensation. So when you are espousing an idea at the subconscious level of your brain, you must know that is where we are. And the provision is in the Constitution. When we choose to go back to another entity, what we must do. So under this multi-party political dispensation, the Democratic Party is a party of brain power. We don't really have any other predetermined or preconceived minds and propositions, except those that are based on the law. We are under a presidential political system or model. And the reason why we are opposing a few of these things is because we want to stop Parliament from continuing to make mistakes, enacting laws that don't actually make a lot of sense. One of the laws being the Administration of Parliaments Act that created a position that they referred to as a leader of opposition position. Now, under a presidential model, it is very unlikely that you can have a position of leader of opposition. This guy is a minority leader. If you want, you look at jurisprudence from all the other political systems. What happens in Kenya, for example, under Article 1008 of their constitution, there's a minority leader. Now, the reason why you are coming up with a proposition that this guy should be elected is because you feel he leads the whole opposition. That is just by nomenclature. It is like saying we have an independent electoral commission when we know it is appointed by a candidate. So it is not the electoral and boundary electoral commission of Kenya. So these are mistakes done by Parliament. Whether they are actually intended or not, it is up to you, members of Parliament. These things don't exist. So we don't have, and you do not enact a law that actually forces members of Parliament to form coalitions, because there is no coalition. Now, in the absence of a coalition, what is in Parliament? Today, what is in Parliament is the subject of the population ranking manifestos. In the recently concluded presidential election, what was the rank? The NRM was given the first rank. That manifesto got the first rank. So when you win, the Political Parties and Organizations Act is the leading regulatory law for political parties. A successful party forms government. That is what the law says. A successful party in a concluded presidential election forms government. What does that government constitute? A lot. It is all and sundry. Now, what does the next successful party do? If you are in a coalition under Section 18 and 19, then you provide for provisions on how you arrive at a leader of opposition. If you are not, the minority leader comes from the second party. The Democratic Party is not, we are not interested in capturing people's leadership. No. We are interested in truth and justice. Now, the second party forms government. That is why under the Administration of Parliament Act that you are seeking to amend, it gives the leader, the so-called leader of opposition, who in my opinion is a minority leader, it puts him at a level of a minister, cabinet minister. So how many ministers are elected in Parliament? None. So why do you propose to elect theirs? and you don't elect the ministers for the ruling government. So, Honorable Lumu, we are opposing this because we know. Number two, we are not under a Westminster or parliamentary model. Under that model, the guy that leads the opposition is actually a president in waiting in parliament. That is why he is the answer. And like the president told you, he is the answer to whatever is proposed in parliament by the other president. Now look at the pseudo system in South Africa. Zuma sits in parliament, the leader of opposition does so. So the answers are provided by this guy against what is being proposed by the other guy. They are all in parliament because it is a parliamentary system. Here we are running a presidential system. Now your proposition for election of a leader of opposition can only apply, for example, if you apply the Pakistani model. Pakistan amended their constitution in 2010, and that is the 18th amendment. Now that amendment provided for an election of a leader of opposition. Why? Because they went to Westminster. They completely desecrated the presidential model, and the president remained cosmetic. He remained, I think there is a word that usually, Mr. President, they say, for example, it's just titular and nominal, the president. That system is being employed, and the leader of opposition is elected by guys who are in parliament. So that is the system. So without this, you can't elect anybody else. Now, the law, Mr. President, provides for elections. And that is the role of a law. It is the rules that you need to amend. And Honorable Lumu is inviting us to help him in amendment of the rules. For me, once the law creates the bedrock for the justification for what you have to do, then under the rules, when the law tells you that the parliament shall do this, please do it. The Constitution under Article 82A, as amended in 2006, provides for elections. The Act also provides for a mechanism. Now, how that is arrived at is not a question of the law. It is a question of the rules. The Commission. Why? The Commission under the Act is also established. Now, Section 2, subsection 2 of the Administration of Parliaments Act creates details. It tells us who are members of the Commission. The Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, I think the Prime Minister. Now, the Minister. Now, who of these are you going to elect? It tells you that you only arrive at an election of 3 other people. That is the function of rules of procedure. So you don't amend an act. An act cannot be used to provide procedure. That is going to be a problem in the country. So for me, I think, Mr. President and all. Now, the final part of, and I'm happy now this one you have run away from it, the one of ring fencing the position of Deputy Speaker. This is a very technical program. Under the Constitution as amended in 2006, it established Article 82A. Then we also have Article 8, capital A of the amended Constitution. The problem with the Ugandans is that they are reading all the constitutions. Now ours is being amended every day, so you must update yourself with the new copy. That Article 8, capital A provides that the national objectives and the directive principles of state policy are part of the Constitution. Now, objective number 2 gives details that everybody must have a right to access positions of authority in Uganda. Now, the provision on amendment of the Constitution is to the effect that if you are to amend that objective, you must go for a referendum. So, Honorable Lumu, a referendum and a private member's bill, this you can't achieve. So, we want to think, Honorable and Mr. President, I will try to persuade the party everywhere we go that we don't need this bill, because we are not under a system capable of obtaining this bill. What we need is a complete overhaul of the political system in Uganda. The political system in Uganda is presidential. The winner takes everything all, and the rest have no business telling him how to run a government, except seeing where he has gone wrong. Now, until that is amended, for example, to go Westminster, and I had this proposal. It is one of the amendments. I don't know why members of parliament don't push for a complete overhaul and the amendments with the Minister of Justice, who is close here. You don't begin to pick things. You are going to create a major problem in Uganda. For me, we don't need this act, Honorable Lumu, and this is just personal. But I will persuade, and I know how to persuade this party. I'll try my best, because I'll best myself. I know that we have a president that looks at justifications. I have read all the constitutions of the world. The one that I had not read was the one in China that had not been interpreted by 1995. To date, it is interpreted, and I have read it. I know all of these. I know all these things because I take time, and I will try to convince my members of NEC. What we now on independence? Clearly, we are multi-party. We have a law regulating political parties, but we don't have a law regulating independent political leaders. That is what you should push for as members of parliament, that we need a law that regulates. These guys pick their powers right from chapter 4 of the Constitution of Uganda and begin walking the length and width of all the body politic of Uganda. Honorable President, these are guys that need a law. In Tanzania, when that had failed, they said, no, we don't need independence. Persons started going to all courts. They went to the African Court on Human and People's Rights. For us, we don't have access because our country has not yet deposited the declaration required under the protocol on the African Court on Human and People's Rights, required under Article 34, Clause 6. But for Tanzania, they were deposited. So Metikira started going to the East African Court. He went, Reverend Metikira, in Tanzania until he died. Independence, unregulated, must not have a way forward in a political system which is multi-party. Now, when you choose to go multi-party, people must be able to kowtow to the objects of their own political parties. You don't maintain independent opinion under a principle and process of political parties. And these are the things, Mr. Lumu, that you want to introduce. We want to powerfully make sure political parties design the length and width of politics in Uganda, because we are under a multi-party political dispensation. However, one thing that I would advise that you concentrate on is the principle of numerical strength. Now, that principle was outlawed by two major cases. The first case was Constitutional Petition number 28 of 2007. That is Jacob Olanya versus Attorney General, where Jacob Olanya was not being allowed because the law indicated that actually only parties with the biggest numerical strength were allowed to nominate candidates for EALA. He had gone to Taiwan in parliamentary elections, tried EALA and nominations for NRM. He did not go through. He tried independent. He had no access. He ran to Constitutional Court. And he won the case, and the Constitutional Court said that numerical strength is discriminatory. So wherever it applies, please remove it. The second one is Mukasa Fred Mbidde and the Democratic Party versus Secretary General of the Committee and Attorney General of Uganda. It was succinctly made that numerical strength is an outlaw. It is discriminatory against smaller political parties. That is why the rules were amended to provide for even JEMA to front candidates for EALA. That is what we did. So emerge with a law that cleans the whole laws of parliament of numerical strength. Even in terms of funding of political parties, numerical strength is illegal. The DP solved this long ago, but members of parliament are not doing it now. Mr. Lumu, you are coming up with this again. Let us try, in my opinion, and for me, I really feel this is not what we need now. And you can imagine why you have now faced a lot of media and social media bollocks. It is because people feel this is majorly an intended capture of the remains of opposition power from the party that came second to NRM. That is what they believe. Why? Because independents are members of opposition. Even the law recognizes that Administration of Parliaments Act. When they are creating centers for that act, particularly the section that creates the leader of opposition, the center on consultation, and I think that is Article 82 when it was being amended in 2006, it provides that the centers for consultation include political parties and independents. Number two, Political Parties and Organizations Act says that the winner of an election, which is a political party, forms government, meaning the rest are not members of the opposition, not members of government, members of the opposition. Now, once you establish that an election of leader of opposition takes place, the voters are going to be members of opposition political parties and independents, and they outnumber you. So people know that the calculation is clear, and they are basing their calculation, by the way, on the current members of parliament. Yet the law will not apply to them. But they know what will happen. In Uganda, before an election commences, because amendments were not done as DP proposed, both by propositions and by the cooperation agreement. Because it was not followed, we know who will win the next election. Now, if we know who will win, we know who will lose. And those who will lose don't want an election. Because this is the country. We are not living like a frog that lives in a pot of water and begins to think that the size of the sky is the size of the mouth of the pot. No. We know what happens, and this is the party of brain power. That is why the all and sundry of opposition are opposing this act. For me, they oppose it under Segona, they will oppose it under you. But why this? Let us abandon this and begin thinking about things that are workable. For me, that is my proposition.
I wanted to ask a question that will I want to ask Honorable Mbidde to restate the problems that he sees with the current system. Because we are trying to make a decision whether Honorable Lumu's bill is the medicine. Let us not lose focus.
Yes. One, Mr. President.
Because we must still find a medicine. If we are the party of brain power, still we must find a medicine.
Yes.
Yes.
The first problem is the political model. It is a presidential system that seeks to propel powers to the winner. Now the losers need some power.
That is winner take all.
Yes. So what they call the leader of opposition, which I know is a minority leader, is just a ventilation provided by the second party. For the second party to begin also seeing what is happening in terms of power. You can't elect that one. It is just a ventilator. So, Honorable President, that can only be, it cannot be sorted by this act. He doesn't have the powers to do that. So it has to be a cabinet bill that ultimately may even land us into a referendum. So these are things that we need. They are going to be an overhaul. Number two, Honorable President, the method of arriving at the three members of the commission, the rest, which are the three members of the commission, you cannot have an act that only touches three people because that is discriminatory. These are supposed to be rules. The rules of procedure of Parliament are what you need to amend. Otherwise, how are you going to enact an act that the commissioners, only the three, are going to be elected like this? Otherwise, the speaker is not going to be elected, the deputy speaker, the prime minister. So, for me, I think since the law allowed them, the law apportioned who are the other commissioners, Mr. President. Then it also told them that now Parliament comes up with three other commissioners. Now, the manner in which Parliament does is called a procedure. Now, that one is under rules of procedure of Parliament. For me, I would think that is what they should do. Those procedures are used to elect even members of Parliament to the East African Legislative Assembly. Those procedures have powers they can call it an annex or a substantive provision in the procedures of Parliament, since the Commission is equally a committee of the House. Mr. President, it is a government to come up with a shift in a political model. If they want us to go Westminster, it will be natural that a leader of opposition will be arrived at depending on the processes in the House. Number one, if there is a coalition between all the parties, they will determine how the leader of opposition is arrived at. If there is no coalition, still the winner must be accorded the powers of what he has won. You don't allow somebody to win, then pass a law that takes powers from him. No, we can't be the kind of party that proposes that. We know the numbers are there to support this, but the intention will be wrong if they support you. So we want something that can be supported only when intentions are correct. For me, that's what I feel.
You are a lawyer yourself. Do you think we have a chance of winning in court if we went and said, all these, there are those who have been looking for censures and so on. Do you think if we took that route and said these people actually are not properly in office because they were not elected, bias of the courts accepted, what do you think? Do you think it is a good case?
You see, I didn't want to go into that. I wanted that where there is a lacuna, we cure it before we go into the courts. Now, I have heard what my brother said strongly, saying and talking with a lot of punctuations and additions. But he knows there are no rules which do not come from a certain law. The rules come from a certain law to enhance it, to buttress it.
Yes.
It is good if you propose that we can also amend the rules. Right now, they are working on that in Parliament. The Rules Committee have been sitting for, I think, 2-3 weeks to try to engage and see how they can amend the rules. So your proposition already is being taken care of. Now, the political models. I think Africans are still stuck with the colonial mentality. We are still stuck there. We can also create our own model and we run by it. Like I've given you an example that in Ghana, they are using a system which I'm talking about, but they are running smoothly. And actually I see, wait a minute, I finish. I see all Africans running to Ghana to see how they do their politics and their democracy. They run there. Why? Because the Ghanaians allowed in their mind that we can form a system and run by it.
For ourselves.
For ourselves. And I think that is what we should copy. We should not say we are stuck with the system from UK or America. We can also form our own and run by it. And I don't think that is a problem. Because if we fail to think like the British or the Americans, it is a problem. It isn't. The people in Pakistan run away from the presidential system because their politics is too far different from ours. They have been facing all kinds of problems. And my propositions cannot cause fire in Parliament. You went to court yourself because you decided that now this is unfair. We should solve it like this. Had you not gone there, we would not be having a slot in the East African Parliament. But because you went there, you urged the case, and we got that slot. Now, it is the same way I am doing my things. Those things which are fresh, those things which are new, should also be introduced here, because our political sphere, our political landscape is too far different, so unique from where we copied actually the political systems, especially in England. Ours is a new one. Because if you go to England, yes, it's called the leader of minority. The same way it is in Ghana, it's called the leader of minority.
Even in Kenya.
Even in Kenya. But they have coalitions. Our coalition in the parliament is implied. It is implied. Why am I saying so? Because the moment you are not in a government, you are automatically on the other side. What Honorable Mbidde is saying that, no, if there is a leader of minority in the parliament who is called the leader of opposition, you shall keep quiet. You shall not say anything. What I'm saying, that is not right. I am saying that, yes, because also they voted for me. They voted for me. They voted for other parties. Actually, if your argument is that one, when you add up all opposition members in parliament who are not the NUP, we are larger than in number. So if now we are going with what you are saying, now that will be another chaos. Because if it is coalition, we say, now let's make a coalition.
Yeah, maybe you misunderstood me. Since you are still let me tell you, then you inform you, then you still continue.
Okay.
The same way that minority leader is appointed is the same way parties appoint party whips. Not by election. You don't go there and you begin assuming positions of authority in a multi-party political dispensation. It is the party. The same way you guys should be, because there is no coalition. So this one of Ghana, I don't know what you mean, but it's a two-party political system. It is a presidential, parliamentary political system, and you alone cannot touch it, because that one now requires government. So that's why I can.
No, so you are agreeing with me that
no,
there is
I'm disagreeing.
There is a problem. There is a problem, but for you are saying it should only be brought by government. That is what you are saying.
That is the constitution.
Okay, that is what you are saying, and I have no problem with it. Now, on the issue of
I think this one was quite hot.
Yeah, there are so many questions.
And I think it is only fair that he tackles it.
Yeah. There are so many questions.
It was a rapid fire,
Yeah.
which requires a response.
Now, on the issue of the commissioners, for example, the law provides for some commissioners when elected. Actually, the speaker comes in as the chair of the commission after being elected a speaker. You cannot chair that commission before you are elected. So what I'm talking about is election.
And the Prime Minister?
Wait a minute. The 4 commissioners, the backbench commissioners, are the commissioners who take care of all the MPs behind there. Okay? We are saying, okay, the government has 3. The opposition party with the largest majority in opposition has 1. My proposition is that also the others can have 1 elected. And actually, when you read that law, it talks about electing them. That's what it says, election. What has now been changed? It is appointment. Well, you can read that. It says election. So now, what I'm fighting, if the law says elect, do the elections. If the law does not tell you that, then do otherwise. Another thing, when you come to the committee, you can give those propositions of appointment. Because if we don't remove the law as it is, other people will come to give it another shot. That now there is unfairness here. Whoever suggested elections had a reason why election in a presidential system that like we have here. He had a reason. He did not wake up without a reason. He had a reason. Because our political dispensation and space is too far different from others. Uganda's political system is actually different. If you read in that constitution, there are systems called the movement, which was removed.
Yes.
I have never heard of it anyway. It is only in Uganda.
Yes.
So we can have a thing of our own and also promote it. When will people come to copy our system? When we are copying from them, they can come and copy this one from Uganda, and it does no harm at all. So you should not fear some kind of change. You shouldn't. The change must be there because we are progressing every other day. You should not be afraid. Lastly is vetting. I think you talked about the vetting because I was proposing also for vetting of cabinet ministers by all the political
Opposition ministers only?
Yeah, opposition ministers. Because the vetting takes place the other side. You were asking.
But let me ask you.
Let me finish.
The vetting of the cabinet ministers, where is it written?
But it is done, isn't it done?
Yes, but where?
Is there a committee?
No, I'm asking.
Is there a committee?
I want you to tell us.
Appointments committee, is
Honorable
it there?
If you came to consult, it's fine.
No?
If you came to lecture, it is also fine.
No,
Because
I think
if you have predetermined positions, we will carry ours.
Let us listen to each other.
Yeah. The only thing is there is a committee which you know.
I know, but it is under the rules. So why do you
even
put
if
this
it is
one
in
under
the
the
rules,
act?
it is okay.
I wanted to clarify,
okay.
But to keep focus, it is important that Honorable Lumu responds to the issues that have been raised. And I hope you will also respond to what has been stated by people like Dr. Besidi. They say, okay, there is a problem, but why don't we just make the number 2 presidential candidate an automatic MP?
By the way, it is because I'm avoiding that because it needs a constitutional amendment.
Yes.
But it was my first proposition. Actually, this one is the second option. And to take you through, I am proposing that the first run-up, if it gets a certain vote mark, let me say if the winner has gotten 5 million, and the first run-up gets 2.5 million votes, I'm proposing he automatically takes the seat as an ex-official. But when you look at, I think, Article 75, it brings in the contents of the parliament, who is supposed to be in parliament. So you cannot bring it here. You have to amend
what if
the constitution.
you brought in a proposal? You know, even in the 80s, there was a proposal for nominated MPs. So in that case, now Bobby Wine would nominate himself. He would sit in a meeting and then he nominate, so that he is not just being given ex officio, so it is a proper seat. For us, we want to broaden the debate because we have to shield you from those who want to bastardize the debate also. Those who want to bastardize the debate are just in a power play, as usual. So, whether it needs a constitutional amendment or not, I believe we shall engage again before you finally table the bill, because even us, we had not internalized all these things that you had spoken about. Let me tell you why attacks were coming to you. The attacks are coming from extreme elements in Uganda. The extremists who are saying in 1 month the regime change fundamentalists. So for them, they are saying no. Now they are even putting words into your mouth that the entire parliament is going to vote the leader of opposition. So they are now saying NRM yegendo turondera leader of opposition, and they are pinning it on you. For us, at least, we have been saying, as Democrats, we believe that Ugandans went and gave marks and said Museveni, Chagulanyi, Mao is there with his F9s. Like Katolu Bwama used to say, Emienda Jijo, Munana. So, we are saying that there's need to think about what they call the official opposition, the leader of the official opposition. And the official opposition is elected in the general election. That's the official opposition party, which is recognized. Now, the opposition now includes everybody who is not the ruling party. I don't know what the Constitution says. I've tried to look for a soft copy I haven't seen. But I think the Constitution says something about official opposition.
Yeah. It says official opposition, and it defines a party with the majority.
That is 82A.
That's 82A.
Yeah.
It was amended up to
2006.
Yeah, because the truth is that we have a problem, and we must find a solution to it. Then what you called, Honorable Mbidde called it winner take all, you called it domination. Now, in a democracy, you try to tame domination. Now, other people think you are solving the problem which was manifested in the Mpoga Chagulanyi kind of tension, which is not new. Remember, there was Benedicto Chiwanuka.
Whatever is happening with this flight
Around me.
It is nature.
It is the mango tree. It's evening. Not spread.
So, it has now gone there.
You've sent it here.
So, when Ben was in the election of 1962, Bataringaya went and basically started saying, well, I am the one who is known by the country. So there was that tension. So some people mistakenly think that's the problem you are trying to cure. And it is important that they know that it is a bigger problem which is systemic.
DP yobojja manya nti mutwe gwo mulimu akantu. Bwe muba temuli ye brain power. Bakuba nayo olina okuba nga oli mugumu. Era ndowooza abalabye mulabye nti kyenjogera nkitegeera. Kiri mu mutwe gwange. N'olwekyo nfunye propositions ezimu wano ze baagala nkyuseemu n'enfuna ne ze baagala nnyongereko ng'aba Democratic Party. Olukiiko lubadde so good, lubadde nga ye DP yennyini gye mmanyi yeeyo, kubanga bwe twabeeranga mu UID nga tusobola okukaayana okumala olunaku lulamba nga naye tukaayanira akantu katono. Kati era bwe nazze wano nazze mmanyi nti ekyo kye kijja okubaawo. Ekirala mu DP mulimu disagreements nyingi kati oyinza okusanga abamu badde boogeza ogwo omutima naye nabo si batidde. Kati ekirungi ndi mu kwetegeka biki ebigenda okubeera ku floor of parliament. Manyi nti wajja kubeerayo omuliro ogusinga guno ogubadde wano ku DP naye nagwo nja kuyitamu kubanga ndowooza nina ekirowoozo nti tulina okubaako bye tukyusa. Temuyinza kubeeraawo ng'ekizibu mukimanyi kuba bonna bakkiriza nti waliwo ki ekizibu. Ndowooza waliwo ekizibu, kati baba waliwo ekizibu tutunule butunuzi ffe tugende n'abalala bajje basanga ekizibu kyekimu. N'olwekyo engagement ebadde fruitful, ebadde nnungi, ebadde yakubaganya bwongo. Abantu abaddawo abasinga bonna abantu nga 9 bonna ba lawyers ate nga bagasoma kye bakola. So kyemuvudde mulaba nga engagement ebadde that hot. Naye nga ebimu bakkiriziganyiza nabyo, ebiteeso nga 3 bakkiriziganya nabyo. Ebiteeso ebirala bagamba nyongereko, nyongere birongooseemu. Kyendabye kye balowooza nti bwe tunaaba tulonda leader of opposition, ndoza balowooza bayinza okujja nga bwe ba leader of opposition omulundi ogujja, balowooza nti bwe bajja okumwapointinga. Ekyo katukisabire Mukama. Naye bwe kinaaba nga si kyekyo nze nja kuba natereeza dda. Oyinza okusanga aba movement bwe bagenda okubeera ku opposition. So abantu tebatya nkyukakyuka kubanga tweyita baaki bankyukakyuka, tebatya tugende mu maaso n'engagement.
Muganda waffe ekiteeso kya Honorable Lumu ayagala kukola teeka naye bw'olaba ebiri mu teeka bigwa mu biti 3. Ekisooka takkirizibwa kuleeta teeka likole ekyo. Kati ng'okugamba nti deputy speaker ave mu opposition, ekyo kyetaaga referendum okukyusa objective number 2 okusinziira ku article 82A mu amended constitution. Ekyo n'olwekyo ekyo tekisoboka mu teeka lyayagala okuleeta. Ekyokubiri ayogera ku kulonda commission. Commission eyo ebeeramu abantu ba biti 2. Ebeerayo abatuula mu commission olw'okuba omu ye speaker oba deputy speaker, omu ye prime minister, omu kakati abantu abo tewali ayinza bakubako kalulu. President yawangula yabalonda. Kati n'olwekyo tosobola kukola teeka ng'ate tigenda kulonda bali abasatu bokka ate n'okola teeka. Ezo zirina kuba rules of procedure. Muganda waffe zalina okugendayo n'abagamba bakyuse kuba etteeka lyaggwa kino kyaleeta kigenderedde kutawaanya. Ekisembayo tosobola kulonda leader of opposition. Etteeka likugamba leader of opposition ali ku ddaala lya bwaminisita. Kati bw'abanga yawangula baminisita b'essimu bakubako kalulu, tosobola kugamba nti azzeeko ate ababebe mu kubako akalulu. Kakati saagala tulowooze ku tteeka nga tulowooza nti olw'okuba NUP ye leading opposition. Enkya kijja kuba kibiina kirala. Tetwagala ate kukola bintu nga bya kito nga byogera ku oyo aliwo. Tetukolera muntu tteeka. Tuyina presidential system, tewabeerawo leader of opposition okujjako nga muyina coalition mu parliament. Kati buli pate esindikayo abantu baayo. N'olwekyo pate ey'okubiri eronda minisita waayo mu opposition. Ey'okusatu nayo neronda. Kati nga DP eronda pate whip. Kati ey'okubiri yo eronda leader. Bayina namuyita minority leader. Naye lwakuba bammemba ba parliament bamalaga kozesa bigambo. Mu Uganda tetulina leader of opposition. Tuyina minority leader. Oyo gaya abeera minisita wa kibiina ekyazzeeko ekitaafunye buyinza. Era abeera ku ddala lya minisita mu tteeka. Bw'obanga baminisita ba president awangudde tobakubako kalulu ate toyinza kuddira eyagudde baba bakubeko akalulu. Tekisoboka. N'olwekyo buli kibiina kitwalayo minisita waakyo. Abaffe babayita party whip owa omuntu eyaddako ekibiina ekyaddako bo bano gwe bayita leader of opposition. Naye mu mateeka agensi yonna babayita ba minority leader nga bwe kiri mu article 108 mu constitution ye Kenya, nga bwe kiri mu constitution endala. Denmark, Greece, watandikira ne kugamba ebintu bino si byakuteebereza kasita oba ng'ova mu kibiina kya DP. Mu kibiina kya DP ffe tulimu brain power. Tetwagala bintu bya busungu, bya mbibi na byaki. Tuba twagala ensonga nga eri mu tteeka ng'egasa. N'olwekyo gavumenti ya kuno erina obuvunaanyizibwa okukyusa political system. Mu 1962 twalina ba leader of opposition kubanga eyo yali Westminster model. Uganda kati eri mu presidential model. Candidate yazzeeko tatuula mu parliament kubanga talondebwa ku bwa minister. ekyagaana Ben Kiwanuka okutuula mu parliament kyali kirala kubanga system eyalonda teyamuleeta naye yalibadde ye leader opposition si batalingaya kati abantu beerabira ebintu ebyo ne bakozesa ensobi ate okwagala okukola ekintu ekiriwo n'olwekyo muganda waffe ffe amagezi ge tumuwa eno biiru eyokukola etteeka agiveeko naye agende mu palamenti abagambe bakyuse amateeka gaabwe kubakolera bo bamemba ba palamenti balabe be balonda bakomishona ekyalida opposition si kyaluluziza palamenti ekyo kyakolebwa ssemateeka nga bwagaba obuyinza bwa president bwagaba obuyinza bwaddako n'olwekyo leader opposition mu system ayina kubanga ye president in waiting mu Uganda olwokuba tulina presidential model president in waiting tabeera mu parliament kati toyinza kubaayo na leader opposition eyo yinayo minority leader batuma mutume prime minister alese ekyo wa government wa NRM alese kino kati fe minister waffe tumutume kino so oyo minister aliyo kati nga Honorable Senyonyi minister wa NUP kubanga ebibiina byaffe tebiina coalition mu parliament coalition zikolebwa before during an election or even after so singa tulina parliamentary coalition olwo twandibadde ffe abali mu coalition ffe tukola amateeka gaffe ngeri ki gye tulonda mu leader opposition so bino ebintu bino byakutukufiisa naye gavumenti ate erabika ebyagala kubanga ye eri mu DP tetugenda kuwerekera muntu yenna tu capture obuyinza bw'ekibiina ekirala tikisoboka that is not the party
nga kinabasiyize mugeragera mu kooti mugeragera kola
tekijja kuyita
kutugenda muyamba kuonale okukunga abalala
nze omulimu gwange kati kukunga bannakibiina bonna kino ekiteeso bakiganda gwe mulimu gwe nnina kubanga kifu tekirina wantu wonna wekikola nawano tekiyinza kukola muganda wange aleese modo naleeta ye Ghana ndala nnyo erina two party political dispensation yeringa overriding political dispensation ate yo era leader opposition bamuyita minority leader era abeera alondebwa ekyo ekibiina ekiba kizzeeko so n'olwekyo byayogera posibwe biri era minority leader ayina kuservinga interests za kibiina kye kyekyatutwala mu multi-party political dispensation singa tukyali mu movement singa buli muntu ebirowoozo bye bikauntinga they don't count ebirowoozo ebikauntinga bye bya manifesto ebeera yawangula manifesto eyaddako bye birowoozo ebiri dominant manifesto eyokubiri oba eyokusatu bye birowoozo byayo era naye yennyini singa abadde mwesimbu eyo biiru ffe twandibadde twamutuma naye titwamutuma so ebyo si birowoozo bya DP kasero kumpimpi ayinza obijjayo kubanga onebusegona yazooka okubeera nabyo naye ndoza babisuula kumpi kati byetaaga kuyuza buyuza oba biwe ente yonna eri kumpi awo ebigaayi eri kumpi awo ebigaayi eri kumpi awo ebigaayi eri kumpi awo ebigaayi eri kumpi awo ebigaayi